Hi everyone, this is Shara and it has been such a long time since I posted my last video. And I should say that it's good to be back. In this video, we are going to talk about how to become a freelance even though with or without experience. I started my career in freelance in 2020, and after a year of struggle and going through a lot of challenges, I break through, and finally 2021 has changed, and finally I'm back in YouTube and I'm willing to share my journey. So in today's video, we are going to talk about the step-by-step process of how to become a freelance. So mainly I am social media manager, but mainly this experience or this process also applies for starting freelancers. I remember when I was looking for ways for me to earn online, I've read a lot of articles. This specific blog talk about dropshipping, online selling, affiliate marketing, and service provider, buy and sell. But what really caught my eye is freelancing, specifically talking about service-based businesses. Because this way, it is a lot easier for you to start. There's less capital. You only need determination, skills, and a little bit of resources like internet connection and computer. Even though without computer, you can definitely use your phone, or you can go to internet cafe to start and learning and shaping the skills for you to become a freelance. So there are 6 steps that I'm going to walk you through in this video. So this video is quite a lengthy video that you will be watching. I have a timestamps in this video and I want you to walk you through the step-by-step process. So if you are familiar with the things that I'm going to share to you, just sit back and be open-minded of what I'm going to share to you. So the first step is awareness. The second step is assessing your skills. Third is identifying what freelance category that you wanted to be in. Fourth is identifying who is your target client. Number 5 is crafting content for you to attract this specific client. And number 6 is crafting your own framework and working for you to become the expert of the freelance category or the niche that you wanted to be in. So if you're ready, sit down and relax. If you want to take down notes, grab your notebook, open a Microsoft document for you to start taking down notes in this video. The first step is awareness, and this is the most fundamental and essential part, especially if you're starting whatever career you are going to aspire for. Because having a sense of awareness, what you're good at, what you're not good at, what are the potentials that you can see to yourself, and what are your limitations, it would really help you guide you through the process. I'm going to make clear that awareness does not stop from these exercises. Every single day you are going to be aware of who you are. There are certain things that even though during the assessment, during a sit down, taking notes, writing your thoughts, taking a personal development test, you are going to know and unfold every piece of your personality and also the experiences that you have and the way that you think and respond to certain situations. So every single day, you become more aware and more conscious of who you are. So there are 4 exercises that I wanted to share to you. Number 1 is journaling. Number 2 is taking a standardized test. Number 3 is SWOT analysis. And number 4 is Ikigai. So these are the 4 self-awareness exercises that I would recommend to you. Number 1 is journaling. Journaling is the most basic self-awareness exercise that you can do right away. What to do is get your notebook and pen and write your thoughts. You can always do that with free-flowing with your thoughts, bullet formats, or anything that creative journaling that you can definitely do. So what you wanted to ensure and assess here is that knowing how you think in certain ways. If you are going to notice, there are certain ways that we think that has a pattern. Every time this specific situation happens, this is your usual response. So for instance, for me, one of my coping ways is that sometimes I really get anxious. I usually sleep. So that's my way of coping, especially if I'm anxious or if I'm stressed. And knowing how you act on certain situation and writing it down is way more different, and it is a lot easier for you to analyze. Sometimes the way that you think, you don't really see it by the time that you thought about it. But once you get used to it and you have finally observed that this is the way that I respond to things, this is the way that I treat this person, this is the way that I study, this is the way that I eat, I exercise, it always adds up of how you do things. That's why it is important to write your thoughts and review it back. In order for you to assess your thoughts, you can definitely review once you have written on your journal, return to it after a week or so, and then you can definitely see the patterns, the thoughts that you constantly think of, and you are going to question yourself, what is the reason why I'm doing this, or what's the reason why I'm constantly thinking about this specific thought? And it might be that you have certain past concerns that you need to adjust to, or this is somehow a future thought that you really wanted to do, but sometimes your thought, your fear, your anxiety is holding you back. That's why journaling is essential for you. The number 2 assessment that you can do in terms of self-awareness exercise is SWOT analysis. So SWOT analysis is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis. So this is a process that is usually applied in corporate area, especially assessing in an organization what areas that they are good at, what areas that they are not really good at, what are the opportunities that are coming, what are the threats that could potentially happen. So we are going to apply that to yourself. So strength and weaknesses focuses on internal factors, and opportunities and threats are external factors. So strength is mainly assessing what you're good at. Weaknesses is assessing what you're not really good at. Opportunities is more of what you can see in the future that is coming for you. And threats is more or so what would be the challenges and circumstances that you will going to face with this upcoming threat, or what would be the threats that you are going to experience in the process of pursuing what you really wanted. As you have written your strength, your weaknesses, the opportunities that you have seen, the threats that are you think would potentially happen, by knowing what your strengths are, you are going to focus on your strengths. By knowing your weaknesses, you are going to improve and enhance that, supporting that you have strengths that are already in your hands. By seeing the opportunities, you're working towards your strength and moving towards the opportunities that you can see in the situation. By seeing the threats, you are now fully equipped, working towards for you to perhaps work or how to deal with ways to solve the problem, how you could perhaps deal with the problem with the threats that are present in front of you. The third one is standardized tests. The standardized test has gone through the process of research, validation, and finally coming to conclusion that this test is effective. One of the standardized tests that you might have experienced is school entrance examinations. If you're already a graduate, it might be employment examinations. That includes personality tests, the way that you cope with stress, team management, and all of that that relates to the work that you're applying to. If you have not experienced going through this process, I would recommend you to visit to any of the testing centers that are close to your town. But since of the pandemic, there are also online options that you can take the exam, and then they will give you directly the result. The fourth one that I would recommend to you is Ikigai. Here's an illustration of Ikigai. And Ikigai is a Japanese concept meaning a reason for being. As of the moment, you might be in a place where you feel that you're not there yet. You don't know yet your Ikigai is because you felt lost, frustrated, you feel unfulfilled with the job or the career that you have right now. You're feeling lost because you don't know what you're really good at and what you really love, or or you're doubtful if what you're really passionate about could be paid for and if this is what the world needs. So here's an example based on my personal experience that I'm going to illustrate to you using Ikigai. So I'm going to give you some lists from the different areas. So what I really love is I really love leading teams. I really love that. I enjoy that. I love creativity, I love drawing, I love arts, I love modeling, and I love those areas, but it might be that I'm not really good at it. So it's just that what you love is something that you really are interested in or drawn to. So here in the next area is what I am good at. So based on my journey and my personal experience, I've been doing art since I was a kid. I've been competing since I was a kid. And I started a small e-commerce business specifically focusing on art. And in that area, that is what I'm good at. I'm also good at, I also have those skills. So one of the skills that I've honed through the process of being a leader since I was a kid, and now that I have joined organizations, I'm really good at people. I'm really good at helping people. So that's what I'm really good at. So if you intertwine what you're really good at and what you really love, there comes passion. You're passionate about it. I'm passionate with people. I'm passionate about helping people. I'm passionate about creativity. So that's what I'm really passionate about. So let's move to what I could be paid for. So I have mentioned earlier that I started an e-commerce business about stationery. But in that process, I was not really able to sustain or to fulfill this scaling the business. So I failed in that aspect because my creativity was not really paid for. So what I could be paid for based on my experience is that I was paid for as a guidance counselor. I was paid for managing social media accounts for brands. So what I realize is based from what I really love and what I'm good at, I could be paid for based on my personal experiences as starting a small business, which is starting a creative business in stationery, and knowing that for a fact that there are businesses that really needs my skills in creativity and managing social media as well as marketing their business. So I end up being a social media manager solely mainly of my personal experience. And it also could happen to you. And moving to that, I have finally figured out that what I love and what I'm good at and what I could be paid for could be meaningful for me. But there is an aspect that might be missing. It might be that it gives me comfort, but it feels like there's something that is missing. And in order for this to expand, in order for me to really find what is the reason for my being, I really need to find that spot where I feel fulfilled because I'm good at it. That's what I paid for and I love it. And that area might be missing if what the world needs. So it might be sounds too big, which means the world. It might be a specific society, a specific group of people that really needs you in order for you to find that sense of being. Because if you have something that you could share, and you know for a fact that this is what you're good at, this is what you really love, and this is what you could pay for, then perhaps
You could share this to the world. Let's say, for example, for freelance, if you have already the experience, you can definitely share this to people who are starting. That's why I started getting back to YouTube, because I wanted to share the knowledge that I have for those people who are starting in freelancing. And for that, I find that sense of fulfillment, because I know for a fact that I shared what I know, and at the same time, because of my experiences and from what I love and what I'm passionate about, what I'm good at, and what I paid for, I finally find my sense of being. And it doesn't really mean that you should stop there. As the time goes by, there are things that might change, and what you wanted to share might change and grow as well. And for the meantime, it might be what is the reason for your being as of the moment. That's what you wanted to be. And as the time grows, it would change and perhaps grow into a more meaningful way for you to live. So that's an example of Ikigai that I wanted to illustrate to you.
Now that we are done with self-awareness exercises, now we are going to move to the second part, which is assessing your skills. So based on your exercises that you have done on the first step, you're going to learn that there are key areas that you have noticed that is constantly repeating with in terms of writing your thoughts, answering the SWOT analysis, or answering the Ikigai. So this is a good indication that there's a skill that you know that you have, or something that area that you wanted to be good at but you're not really good at it, but you wanted to make this skill be the type of skill that you wanted to be expert with. So in this aspect, I wanted you to focus on what skill you have that you are good at. And once you have identified that, let's say you don't really have this specific skill, but you are willing to go through to the process of knowing and mastering the skill. So that's a good indication for you to really help you direct where you wanted to be. So let's say, for example, for me, I'm a social media manager, and when I started, I only assessed based on my personal experience. So I don't really have a professional experience of how to really manage social media. So based on my experience, I started a small e-commerce business, a stationery business that I felt e-commerce business that I failed. From that experience itself, I have learned a lot from that personal experience itself. So I learned how to set up Shopify store. I learned how to do manage social media, to market it, and I also have a lot of mistakes in the process from that personal experience itself. By knowing and assessing from that personal experience by myself, I know for a fact that I've been doing and selling online, so which meant I'm perhaps good at. So which meant I have already a basic understanding of social media. I also have a basic understanding of Shopify. So from that experience itself, I'm going to carve the skills that I have from that personal experience, and I want that to be my field of expertise. That's why I become an e-commerce social media manager. Third part is identifying what freelance category you wanted to be focused with, together with the skills that you wanted to be good at. I know it might be tempting to become a web designer, a graphic designer, or a social media manager because you have heard people that you know online, or perhaps a neighbor of you or a friend of you who has been successful in that field. But we need to keep in mind that their skills are not your skills, and the career or business path that you wanted to pursue is not their business path that they have pursued. So you need to really remember that this is not their path, but this is your path. So you need to really understand that that their success is not your success. So you really need to carve it based on what you really have, based on the skills that you have, what you're really good at, and what you really are interested in. because money will come when you have carved the skills that you already have and you know that you're very good at it, or perhaps the potential to be very good at it. That is something that you really need to keep in mind when you wanted to pursue a specific freelance category or to be the expert of that specific field. Once you get clear, of have that sense of self-awareness with the skills that you have, that what you're really good at, what you really wanted to pursue, what you wanted to be expert in,